Renzo Piano is an Italian architect widely regarded for his innovative and sustainable designs, blending modernity with a deep respect for the environment and context. Born on September 14, 1937 in Genoa, Italy, Piano has become one of the most influential figures in contemporary architecture. The Centre Pompidou, built by architects Renzo Piano and Richard Rogers, is an iconic piece of high-tech structure which essentially brought into practice what might be defined as the interior into the exterior. It features industrial pipes, escalators, and an external skin, so the structure is a work of art in its own right, highlighting such characteristics of the workspace as glass, flexibility, and technological incorporation. With open, flexible spaces, the building is not only fully dedicated to cultural development, but has also turned the area into an active one. Once disputed a useful innovation that has since then turned into an emblematic work of modern architecture, envisioning Piano's concepts of shared spaces where art, technology, and society intersect. The Centre Pompidou is a bold, innovative design that I admire for its transparency and flexible use of space. However, its exposed mechanical elements and industrial aesthetic can feel overwhelming and out of place against the more classical Parisian surroundings. The Shard, that is also known as the Glass Pyramid, is another building designed by Renzo Piano, and it is a stylish office building. This building shaped of glass and boasting an amazing facility that is vertical city, containing offices, residential apartments, and commercial spaces, makes this fascinating architectural marvel of the 21st century in London. The design also features sustainable technologies and systems for energy use and consume materials in environment-friendly manner. The shape of the building also reflects accommodation of its neighbouring structures by being narrower towards its top part. This paper has shed light on how Piano has envisioned the Shard and changed the skyline, improving the dynamics of the city with an amalgam of innovation, public access, and sustainability. I like its style and modernity of the Shard. Also, I appreciate the idea to make it a city in the sky that gives it characteristic and energetic image in London's night sky. It is wonderful that the building meets modern people's needs and has a transparent glass exterior and sustainable elements. I have learned how construction can accomplish several functions in a single complex. But I think that it's too high and has an acute shape, which makes me feel it's rather intimidating and unusual for the area that has much more historic buildings that can imprint more traditional atmosphere. However, one cannot ignore its appearance and effectiveness in this respect. Clearness, light, and the integration with the environment. That is what defines Renzo Piano museum designs. Broad, versatile spaces that enrich the cultural experience. It is not accessible to the Guggenheim Museum Bilbao. However, his work, like Centre Pompidou and California Academy of Sciences, also combines art with architecture. This design strategy is different from Frank Gehry's large forms of the Guggenheim, as most of his buildings, though some of his structures resemble those of Guggenheim Museum, use inexpensive materials such as glasses and steels. And Piano focuses on practical, ergonomic, useful forms that ensure that art and the public engage with art. Museum architectures of Piano are not radically different from Gehry's concept of art and architecture, offering to the public in the case of Guggenheim. However, Piano loves to work with such simple components as glass and steel. That's why the building seems to be less oppressive than Gehry's forms. Piano's task is not about the shape of a sculpture, but in designing unbuilt, smooth and spacious environments for culture. I like how Piano adapt public spaces that embrace light to make the visitor look at art in an appropriate manner. It is for this reason that his structures become inviting, and further the designs of his buildings are quite basic. But occasionally I get the impression that his can appear not as daring and distinct from other iconic buildings, or, in contrast, it makes them less keenly conspicuous. Although they can have functional characteristics for the user, they can at the same time be less vivid and memorable as other architectural structures. Renzo Piano Building Workshop, RPBW, propose a very particular mode of construction based on a marriage of aesthetic and technological approaches to the creative use of structures drawing from a great sensitivity toward the natural world. Most of the firm's constructions have columns and beams, steel most of the times and glasses as walls. This make it look very transparent. This green approach makes RPBW unique in its projects by means of including features like green roofs, efficient energy systems, and natural ventilation. The concept quite frequently focuses on the ability to change and having large multifunctional spaces, often those that are shared. What defines RPBW built form is that the technology, environmental responsiveness, and the community that it serves and belongs to can be integrated together. What I like about the Renzo Piano Building Workshop is that they can make designs that are progressive yet feasible. They are conspicuous but aesthetically appealing structures that easily fit the locality, hence making them stand out. But sometimes, having a functional experience seems to me that some of them seem to be lacking that certain observation of sculptural or bolder characteristics compared to others. Even though they are rather good, they might not always produce the sense of the grandeur that other styles do. The building is the Jean-Marie Tjibaou Cultural Centre and is designed by Renzo Piano in a manner that incorporates both contemporary mode and some Kanak culture features. There are 10 wooden constructions influenced by Kanak huts and consisting of the forms curved latticed roofs that blend with the tropical environment. There is a natural ventilation and passive cooling so that the climate is taken into account and the environment is preserved. What makes the centre unique is its cultural sensitivity in its design, climate-responsive architecture such as timber, design which will enable the users to navigate through the architecture as well as the larger landscape, space that honours culture, place and people. Commonly, I like the Jean-Marie Tjibaou Cultural Centre because of cultural meaning and how the centre gives meaningful cultural place for the Kanak people. The design is classic. The appearance reflects the traditions of the company while not offending the understanding of the modern world. Nonetheless, I often have the impression that the emphasis on environmental integration and cultural references may give the room too intellectual a character, or which could be more difficult to embrace by the general public that is not very familiar with the culture. Nevertheless, this experiment is realized successfully to let the building and its environs form an atmosphere that seems to be the relevant landmark for people rooted in the region. Renzo Piano's design for the California Academy of Sciences is a stellar case of sustainability. Its one-of-a-kind feature is the Sky Garden, which is a 2.5-acre extensive green roof, which also has California native vegetation to help regulate the temperature within the building. The same is true for other sustainable measures, such as natural ventilation, rainwater reused, photovoltaic solar, and more. 3 clear roof domes are inside. The rainforest, the planetarium, and a few other installations ensure free natural light admission and free access to the public. It perfectly matches into the park environment and serves as the excellent example of organic architectonic solution with low impact on the habitat while engaging the public with educational and entertaining messages. It is impressive how the California Academy of Sciences was constructed and how well it is integrated with nature and contemporary architecture. The design of the building looks friendly, engaging the visitor with the display and information presented. Nonetheless, while that is a good design, I sometimes get the impression that the futuristic touch could be a little distracting from the relative old-world appeal of Golden Gate Park. Nevertheless, it is an impressive structure, and what can be unsuitable for several people, from my point of view, is that the building is rather provocative in comparison with the intricate nature of the surroundings. Parco della Musica in Rome, designed by Renzo Piano, is a multi-venue music and entertainment venue, which is characterized by the integration of modern architecture with the acoustic and the environmental elements. It has 3 theatres: the big one for large-scale performances, the Santa Cecilia, mid-size Auditorio, Sinopoli, and another small one for solo concerts and recitals. This has some rehearsal spaces within timpani-shaped domes of concrete, with a sculptural and graphically expressed flowing winds of music. Located in the building, there are such functional and infrastructure elements as green areas and open to the public zones. It is also known for its sustainable elements, such as the use of natural lighting, ventilation, and creative marvelous exploration of acoustic in architecture. In my opinion, the building of the Parco della Musica is great and inspiring, and at the same time it appears very practical. Outlining is expected to make major impact since it reflects dynamism of music right from the cover. However, architectural forms are quite experimental. I sometimes found the scale of the complex quite imposing, especially when standing midst the preserved historic buildings of Rome. Nevertheless, this building does manage to enrich the cultural environment and provide musicians with an opportunity to perform to the public and people, to get acquainted with fine art. High Museum of Art, architect Renzo Piano can be said clean, and geometric design is very meaningful for the museum, and the natural light is very unsuitable. In the centre of the building, the large lobby consists of a vast atrium and feels open and clear thanks to the use of glass. The exterior of the building is both contemporary and classic due to the white limestone of the most recent section of the edifice. The solution is also characterised by the zoning of the galleries with a focus on the artworks themselves. The blade acts both as architectural sculpture and sunshading. Thus, Piano's incorporation of outdoor areas and the building's permeability to the city structure makes it an excellent example of the modern non-prescriptional concept of the cultural centre as the network of architecturally valuable and functionally efficient environment, beautiful and multifunctional at the same time. I like that High Museum of Art has one of the most contemporary, glamorous designs to make the art experience more enjoyable. The doors and windows are wide and large, meaning this is a bright-looking building and a pleasure to visit. However, at the same time, while the architectural layout of the majority of zones and areas may be considered impressive, they are too spacious and minimalist, which is not very suitable for those who expect the, say, home-like or more traditional museum-like atmosphere. While the concept may not necessarily appeal to everybody, taken as a whole, the building aptly fills a modern cultural need while bolstering the mission of the museum in Atlanta's arts community. The principle of Renzo Piano is a unique and highly innovative approach integrating adherence to sustainability and cultural respect. Slim profile, lighting, and interaction with nature. From the high-tech Centre Pompidou to the nature-included California Academy of Sciences, his designs challenge the limits of structural and technical innovation within the architectural discipline, as well as respect for context and purpose. His work, including the Shard and the Jean-Marie Tjibaou Cultural Centre, translates a modern technological prowess with the ethnophysics of space. His work explains that architecture can be striking and profound at the same time and make a substantial stance to the society and surroundings.